Good morning. If we could please take our seats. Once again, the channels for the various languages. English, number 1. Italiano, 2. Español, 3. Francês, 4. Deutsch, 5. Francês, Português, 7. And Chinese, 8. Thank you.
Good morning. I invite us now to our morning prayer. Our charism takes the shape of each of us. Our charism takes the shape of each of us. And so we pray, Creator God, in our coming today, help us know the shape of the sacred in our lives, that we, with hearts on fire, may invite others into the ever new story of our charism of charity. There is no power for change greater than a community, a company of charity, discovering what it cares about. These are words from Margaret Wheatley, who continues, "We never know who we are or what we hoped for, or where we were when the world's dreams were seeded, until the day just one of us sighs a gentle longing, and we all feel the change. One of us calls a name, and we all know to be there. One of us tells a dream, and we all breathe life into it. One of us asks why, and we all know the answer. It is very strange. We never know who we are. So what do we, as the Vincentian family, really care about? What is the dream we wish to breathe life into? What is the why we need to answer? The final word is love. At times, it has been a harsh and dreadful thing. and our very faith in love has been tried by fire. We cannot love God unless we love each other. And to know each other is to love each other. We know God in the breaking of the bread, and we know each other too in the breaking of the bread. And we are not alone anymore. We have all known the long loneliness, and we have learned that the only solution is love. Words of Dorothy Day. And so we say, Amen.
Amen.
So another day together as the Vincentian family, another full day full of rich promise for us as we explore the implications of our call to the Charism. The day will follow the same procedures as the earlier two. We will have our morning session. We will break for lunch on our own, and the time to be back is again at 3 o'clock. We invite and implore you, when you are speaking to the multitudes here, to speak slowly so that the translators and each other can hear and understand us. So have a wonderful day. Ricardo?
Good morning. I try in English because Portuguese is very difficult to understand. Sorry for my English. I'm Ricardo. I come from Portugal. I'm in CGI of the SESVP, and today to speak about the creation of a culture of vocation to the Charism, we have two very special persons. We have Regina Lavac and Eduardo Almeida. Regina Lavac, a doctor of charity for 45 years. Regina has been in education for most of the years as a teacher and a principal. Presently, she is the vocation director for the province of St. Louis, USA. As a member of the task force for Vication Family Culture of Vocations, Regina's love for her vocations, the Vication Charism and our Vication family has depended, and she is overjoyed being here with each of you to share in this awesome journey. Thank you, St. Vincent and St. Louis. Eduardo Marques Almeida, a Brazilian citizen, has been a member of the SESVP for 47 years, having participated at the society in Brazil, USA, France, Mozambique, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Paraguay, and Honduras. Professionally, he worked for the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, in Honduras. And before the IDB, he worked in a sustainable development in a number of companies and institutions. He is an engineer by formation and has a master in public administration for Harvard. Eduardo is married to Andrea, who we know in SESVP, and they have two children, Tiago and Ana Luisa. Go listen. Thank you a lot.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say, Eduardo from Honduras, myself from the United States, have been working on this for several months, close contact with each other via WhatsApp, so much contact that he had to bring his wife here to check up on me, I think. We want to take this time to thank each of you for being here, for being such a major player in this awesome, wonderful family of Vincent and Louise, along with all of our other relatives in the communion of saints. How blessed we are with these wisdom figures that have gone before us and still to this day play a major role in each of our lives every day. So thank you for being here. Eduardo and I hope you did your homework last night with our little imaginative quiz for you to answer and also to have fun with. We interviewed several people in heaven to help us out with this quiz. Don't worry, you will not be graded. There will be no failing marks, and every one of you will come out with flying colors and heavenly rewards, I promise. So you answered each of the 5 questions, but it was all about you and nobody else. Every answer you gave is a correct one. So, for the quiz, you grew up, etc. Your relationship with God. What is your motto? What do you want to be known for? With whom would you most want to serve? Now, probably you see a pattern. We just want to see who you most resemble in our Vincentian family. So please, count your A's, B's, C's, D's, and E's. If you have the most A's, then you most resemble St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. If you have the most B's, then you most resemble St. Louise. If you have the most C's, then you most resemble St. Catherine Labouré. If you have the most D's, then you most resemble Saint Vincent. If you have the most E's, then you most resemble Blessed Frederick Ozanam. So, how many have the most A's? How many Elizabeth Anns do we have? How many Catherines? How many Vincents? Oh, look at that. How many Fredericks? Okay. Okay, we thought things like this would be good to start the conversation and create a tool to connect with our youth. Our youth. This could possibly aid anxieties in communicating with young adults, both affiliated or not. It could involve self-discovery and interaction with them in a lighthearted and gentle, positive way.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, it's been a big pleasure to work with Sister Regina for the last months. And we will be talking about the Vincentian Charisma. So I have to say that this subject for any one of us is something that touches us very much. So we get very excited. So it's very difficult for us, especially for me, to speak slowly about the charisma. So we're going to make a sort of a communication between you and us. If we speak fast, please do this. But if we speak really fast, that Andres has to come here and do like this, you say, boo, okay? So let's practice a little bit. So if we speak fast, we're going to do like this. If we speak too fast, we're going to do, thank you. Now it's going to work. Well, we wanted some takeaways from this conversation in the next minutes. And we want to touch people. That's what we want to do when we talk about enhancement of the Vincentian charisma. So the first question we want to address, and Sister Regina is going to touch this very well, is what's the profile of the people we want to address? Who are these people? The millennials, the young people, the the X, Y, and Z profiles. Then why should we implement a Vincentian vocation project? Why? Then how to connect with young generations? How can we make this connection between us and the young generations? Then how to collaborate and cross-fertilize? And finally, we wanted to propose some concrete future tasks, which were the results of the discussions of the Commission of the Vincentian Charisma, which have taken place in the last year and a half.
It is one of our goals to invite outsiders into our Vincentian family to start a dialogue about our mission, our vision, our values, and all the opportunities to serve through interactive quizzes and or surveys that, when given results, may lead toward adding to existing Vincentian interactive resources. Our FamVin website can be further enhanced by things like this and can energize others to collaborate with those already working and updating this awesome website, leading toward greater knowledge of our Vincentian family, as we so wonderfully heard yesterday from our two speakers. We have just made an exercise to better know who we most resemble in the Vincentian family, even though it was a very small sampling. We should prioritize the existing members of the Vincentian family, but what we want is to invite people to join us in living out our Vincentian charism. That word invite is so important. You'll hear it many times today. Membership in a branch of the Vincentian family may or may not be the way to live all people's calls. We know that. So let's change our focus a bit to look at some of our younger people who fall into the category of millennials, sometimes referred to as Generation Y, and Generation Z, or Gen Z. We have several pages on the YAP that describe Generation Y and Z and all their characteristics. This can give us a greater sense of who they are and how we can approach them and truly interact with them, which is so important, to interact with them. These characteristics are based on a universal and worldwide sampling, not just about those living in the United States. We all know youth, young people will be youth, young people, no matter where they live. They all have the same characteristics. So now, coming to our second question, why do we do this? Why are we here? Why do we need to implement a Vincentian culture of vocations project? I think Pope Francis answers it for us most beautifully in his document, Christus Vivit, Christ Lives. So often in life, we waste time asking ourselves, who am I? Who am I? We keep asking that, and we can ask it for the rest of our lives. But I think the real question is, for whom am I? Not who am I, but for whom am I? Of course, we know we are for God. But God has decided that you should also be for others. And God has given each of us many qualities, inclinations, gifts, and charisms that are not for you alone, but to share with those around us. So we are challenged by Pope Francis, and we can challenge each other, and we can be for one another and invite others into this wonderful Vincentian family. Also to be for others. So for whom am I? I am for God. I am for others. And we can be the role models, the welcomers, the inviters, the living examples of the answer to the question put before us, for whom am I? For whom am I? And Pope Francis again continues to speak to us from Christus Vivit. God's gifts are interactive. To enjoy them, we have to be ready to take risks. And in your own heart, answer that question. Are you ready to take a risk for our youth? Yet, the demands they make are not an obligation imposed from without, but an incentive to let that gift grow and let it develop. And then it becomes a perfect fit for others. When our loving God awakens a vocation, God thinks not only of what you will one day be in God's company and in the company of others. One day, what we will be. There are many priests, men and women, religious, lay and professionals, and indeed qualified young people who can help the young with their vocational discernment. That's us. That's each of you sitting here. That is each one of us. When we are called upon to help others discern their path in life, what is uppermost is the ability to listen to them with our ears, but mostly with our heart. The heart is so important. This again is a challenge for each of us in the Vincentian family. Am I willing to go the extra mile to invite? There's that word again, invite. And then to take the time to listen to the young people. To listen with our ears, with our hearts, to the young people with an open mind and a loving heart. Am I willing to take the risks and give the time to welcome and bring others into our Vincentian family, no matter what Vincentian organization or group or congregation or community that we are blessed to be a member of? And do I remind the young people that God loves them? Do I remind them that God loves them? To respond to this invitation to welcome, to invite, to listen, we need to foster and develop all that we are, finding our true selves in the light of God, of the gospel, in the light of Vincent, in the light of Louise, and all of our blesseds and saints, and letting our lives flourish and bear fruit. This will truly attract young people to want to be a part of who we are in the Vincentian family and add to that 2 million strong that we already are. Wow, imagine what that could happen. Doesn't our vocation in this family inspire you to bring out the best in ourselves and in one another with whom we minister for the glory of God and the good of others? What an awesome challenge. When intergenerational relationships exist, a collective memory is present in communities as each generation takes up the teachings of its predecessors and in turn bequeaths a legacy to its successors. We all know this to be true with our very own founders and foundresses. And thanks be to God for this great gift of ours. Let us be challenged to carry on this great legacy and tradition. We know that our youth are seeking God in so many ways, and we can help them and journey with them to experience our Creator God. They need to be approached with what I call the grammar of love and not be preached at. We need to approach them with the grammar of love, God's language, and remember not to preach at them. Let us radiate life and love to them and help them to live their faith and their love of God with integrity. Many young people have come to appreciate silence and closeness to God. By gathering to adore Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, they are open to contemplative prayer, pilgrimages, retreats. They desire prayer opportunities and sacramental celebrations that speak to their daily lives through authentic joy and joyful liturgies. Notice here the key word is joy. Do we have that joy? Do we radiate that joy to them to help them along the way? We have, each of us here has the capacity to do this with them. And I'm sure we already are. This is just a slight reminder. Again, the challenge is to welcome, to invite, to listen. Have we said those words before? Welcome, invite, and listen, and be available to them, for them, and with them. From one side, the youth face many social, economic, environmental challenges, which are very difficult to solve without a strong faith. So again, welcome them, invite them, and listen. That should be our focus to meet the real needs of our youth. As Vincent asked us to have a strong intimacy with the poor, we need to find more ways to approach our wonderful youth and be able to feel their pains. And the Vincentian Charism has never been so adapted to respond to their needs. Do not be afraid of them. We were youths one day ourselves.
So I'm going to stand up a little bit because for most of you, it's about 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, at least for me. So as Ricardo was saying, I'm an engineer by formation, so I like numbers very much. And I wanted to follow up on what Sister Regina has just said. We have to understand what is going on with the youth. And why not to say what's going on with us? If you look at the evolution of the society, I mean, as a whole, not society of St. Vincent de Paul, but the society as a whole, the society has improved a lot. Look at the numbers. This is life expectancy, expectativa de vida. At the time of Ozanam, life expectancy was 26 years. So Ozanam, he died with 40 years. So in fact, he lived more than the average of the people of his time. But look at what happened over time. The life expectancy has tripled. And today it's about 73, more or less. Look at what happened with the death rate for catastrophes. I mean, if we hear today a catastrophe, unfortunately yesterday you heard about the plane that crashed, which has killed 100 and something people. But I mean, it's much more rare than it was happening before. So, in other words, the society is getting better. There are some calculations from the UN that show that by 2030, the extreme poverty will be finished. So does that mean that we don't need to meet anymore and we can just forget about our vocation? No, it just means that the people who live with $1.25 a day will not exist anymore. So people will get better. I think nobody of us can live with $1.25 a day. But in any way, poverty is reducing. So again, good news. The world is improving, is getting better. If you look at human history, what happened with technology, what happened in the last years or in the last century is something which we call exponential development. So, I mean, look at the evolution here until the last centuries, and look at what happened here with technology, with internets, with everything. So again, everything is getting better. We talked about the technology yesterday on a panel here, about communications, about social media. So things are also getting better from the technology. So today, I mean, you can build a house with a robot. You can teach using e-learning. I think a sister has mentioned yesterday about Mexico, a case of e-learning, and you have many other cases. I mean, we have driverless cars. So, I mean, we're getting better. I mean, in health, what we call health tech, I mean, there are things that are improving for the rural people who live in the rural areas. They can already have access to the best doctors from Harvard, from Cambridge. Look at printing, 3D printing. Today you have seen already the Domino's Pizza. They're doing the pizza with a printer. I mean, you want to write Happy Vincentian Family in a pizza, you can ask a pizza and ask them to write it down. And you have a pizza with a Happy Vincentian Family in the pizza. So again, technology is getting better. So why suicides are growing? Why depression is growing? We listened to a case yesterday from a sister that explained the case from someone, a young girl, 15, who committed suicide in the subway. It's not just one case. It's happening all over the world. So why is this happening? Why the young people are getting more and more depressed, more and more frustrated? I wanted to show this graph just to have a relationship of the 10 most developed countries in Latin America. And Chile appears here for years and years as the most developed country in the region. Education in Chile, is anyone from Chile here? Okay, so education in Chile is the best one in the region. GDP, which is GDP per capita, which is an economic indicator, is one of the best in the region. So you've seen what happened in the last months with the young people. So why are young people so frustrated? Why are they putting fire in the church? Why are they so much angry with everything, with the society, with the church, with everybody? And it's not only Chile, it's Hong Kong, it's Colombia, it's Nicaragua, it's everywhere. There is a very interesting report that came out, you probably know, from the bishops in Canada, that showed that Christianity is the most persecuted, as I say, religion in the world. And they show many cases where, in particular, the Catholic Church is the one which is more persecuted. So why is this getting so strong? Well, I think the answer is the challenges that Sister Regina has just mentioned. We're going through challenges that are very difficult to solve. I was very happy to listen to Father Tomas on Wednesday saying that we as a Vincentian family should work in public policy. And we have to, as a family, we have to think on how we can interfere, how we can advocate to solve issues that are very complicated. Things like migration, things like social demands, slavery in the urban areas. So the pressure from the society is getting stronger and stronger, especially for the young people. And then, is there any psychologist here? Psychologist? Psychologa? There is one thing which is called burnout in psychology. Burnout is extreme stress. No, it's when you get, you get crazy. In my times, people used to say that burnout used to happen in the middle age. So let's say when you're 50 or you're 45, 50 or 60, then you get burnout because you change your life, you're rethinking everything. Now burnout is happening with teenagers, with people in their 20s. So people are getting burned out because of the pressure that they get from the society, that they get from the environment that they live. So what can we do here? Sometimes we say that maybe to enhance the Vincentian charism could be used to increase the number of members of each one of our branches, which is important. We say that Vincentian charism is important for the poor. Now, I think we should put on the table something different. I think the Vincentian charism is important for the members, for us, for the people who serve. It's not only for the people who served, it's for everybody. And, by the way, things will get worse. About 1.1 billion jobs of people who work about 1.1 billion people who work in jobs will have no jobs in the next 5 years. 1.1 billion people, drivers, people who work in manufacturing. So things are, in fact, getting worse for the future. So the question for us as leaders of the Vincentian family is, could the Vincentian charism help? If it can help, what can we do? And I think this is the key message we want to address. We have to understand that we cannot go away from here without having the awareness that we have a mission, each one of us. And the only way to do it is to work together, as Father Maloney said, to work, we're 2 million people. So we have to work together so that we can reduce the burnout. Well, this is not new. Father Maloney has the history of the Vincentian family. This is not new. This happened before. When Ozanam, he was at the end of the first industrial revolution. We are on the fourth industrial revolution. At the time of Ozanam, the same thing happens. So it's not new. We just need to come back to our basics, come back to our initial spirit. That's the only thing. That's the only answer. So, as also Father Maloney said, the Vincentian family is not an institution. It's not an institution. So we have to take into consideration that we have a diversified group of people. And the only way to work together is to establish a goal, a common goal. And we propose the common goal today as spread the Vincentian vocation qualitatively and quantitatively all over the world. Well, each one of us has a history. I mean, I've been at the Society for 47 years. Sister Regina is the vocation for 45 years. I've heard that Sister Mary is a Vincentian for 62 years. So each one of us have our own past. So we have our own convictions. So in order to work together, we have to take away, some of the burden that we carry. First thing, our biases. So in Spanish could be vieses. We have to forget about the things that we think are right or wrong. That we are. I hear cases where people from the Society of San Vicente say that they don't need the Vincentian family. In some countries, it's the opposite. People from the society, they blame the others that are trying to take the society over. So we have to take away these biases. Number two, we have to take away the rules, slavery. We think that rules are everything. And I say this especially from the Society of San Vicente de Paul. But, let's forget about the rules. Number three, the backwards vision. I wanted to show this to you because this guy, Steve Sasson, he was at Kodak. Anyone remembers Kodak? The machine, the photograph machine? 30 years ago, when I came to Rome the first time with my wife, we took 24 pictures in a Kodak machine. About 12 of them were lost. So this was a terrible, terrible thing. We used to have this film that we used to develop the film, and at the end, only half of them we could use. The rest we had to throw away. This guy, in the 70s, he worked in Kodak, and he was presenting to the board, to the directors of Kodak. He was saying, let's change our machines, and let's go digital. So, okay, sorry. Let's go digital. What happened with the guy? Was he listened? He was almost fired, almost fired. but nobody gave him any kind of attention. Then he opened another company, a digital company. What happened with Kodak? Do you have a Kodak machine? Everybody here has a Kodak machine? No? No? It's finished. It's over. It's over. So we don't need to give away our principles, but we have to start thinking differently. Otherwise, we're going to lose relevance. And the last one is, for me, it's the most difficult one. In technology, in development, the process that happens is, that leads to success is try and fail, try and fail, try and fail and have success. So what happens, let's be frank, what happens if someone makes a mistake in our society, in our congregation, in our institution? Is he promoted? Or her, or she, is she promoted? No, sometimes we say, oh my God, he's made a terrible mistake, so I'll bring him to the last country in the world. He's going to do a mission in Siberia. So this is what we have to change. We have to accept that we make mistakes, that we have to try and fail, and support it. So these are the things that we think are the things that we should give away. Sister Regina?
Now, after having talked about don't you do this, the do nots, let's talk about what to do.
Okay.
Moving to the last point of our conversation, what would be the proposed concrete future tasks? Our Vincentian Family Culture of Vocations Task Force has come up with very important and concrete actions that we'd like to share.
We also grouped the actions in 4 criteria. Lead with passion, communicate, build a team, monitor, reward, adjust. So lead with passion. These are ideas that were raised in the task force. Include the Vincentian family vocation theme in every speech or event. Do we do this? In our events, in our own events, in our branches? Enhance liaison with all local Vincentian branches. Handpick and enhance potential leaders. Make a calendar of vocational events of each branch. For example, we already do this, but March 25th, September 27th, September 9th, from Ozanam's Day. Second one, communicate every time, everywhere, with every means. Use and enhance the FamVin website and reinforce simple messages about the vocation. Talking about the FamVin website, Sister Regina.
We need to really take the time to utilize and familiarize ourselves with this international Vincentian family website, FamVin.
Okay, the other one is reinforce simple messages about the vocation. Do we have in our minds what the Vincentian vocation is in just one sentence? Sometimes we talk about the 5 virtues, we talk about the letters, the messages. We tried in the Society of St. Vincent de Paul to do this kind of exercise. And we came up with this sentence. It's just an example. An example. Okay? We said that the Society of St. Vincent de Paul is a network of friends and who are seeking holiness through 2 things. Service to the poor and advocacy for social justice. We would recommend that we sit together And we try to write in just one sentence, what do we want to say to the youth that the Vincentian Charism is? It be something different from this, of course, or maybe we can use something of this sentence, but very straightforward. Then, use social media, apps. Father Joe has mentioned about the app, the application for volunteers. Sister Regina, do you want to talk about the website, the app?
As I mentioned, the Generation Z, Generation Y is on that now. But we also have put together a website that we would like you to contribute to. For instance, if you know of a certain need worldwide in your area, in your ministry, that you would like a group of youth, of young people, to come to help, we have a website that you can go to that has a lot of information. You just need to fill out your need in your specific area, no matter where in the world. And we need your help to do that. We already have 4 places that have asked for assistance, that they want to go to your place to do work, to do service, because so many of our youth are service-oriented. So we have 4 places on this website. We would like to launch this particular website on the Feast of Pentecost. So if you would like to talk to us, to the Vincentian Family Office staff, please let us know and we can direct you to this website. We need your help to do that. So let's make a concerted effort. If you need the help, then let's put it out there. And others that will look at this website will want to come to your place to help out. But if you need help knowing more about that, please ask us.
Okay, continuing on the communication, I mean, we are still thinking about formation in the using last century technology. People are talking about what we call MOOC, which is e-learning, so distance learning. And I have already had the pleasure of giving a class at DePaul University through the MOOC. So DePaul has tremendous experience. I'm not sure if St. John's has, but I mean, DePaul has a tremendous experience on the MOOC. So why don't we try to do something together so that we can send to everybody, so that people can receive courses in their phones. Music festival, film festival.
We would also like to have an app for our Vincentian family to put on our phones, our social media devices, so that communication can be ongoing with all of us. We know it's in the dream stage. And of course we know it's all about money, money, money. We're not going to take up a collection now, don't worry. But we ask your prayers for this endeavor. It is something that we really want to utilize. We already have the YAP, and look how much information is on there that we have right now in our hands, in our pockets. So we would like to develop an app for the Vincentian family. Communication is just so important, so key. So pray for that endeavor.
And talking about money, I can say that the Society of St. Vincent de Paul can collaborate with money. And I can say that because the president of the society is not here today, so I can promise anything. But he promised that he's going to give some money, so please ask him when he comes. So build a permanent and effective team. I'll tell you a 30-second story. In the 60s, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul was getting old. At that time, there were only men in the society, and everybody was getting old in the conferences. There was a leader, someone who was at my age, maybe a little bit older, a leader, a president of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, a French guy, who said, let's start a youth movement all over the world. And he just started by one event, a Pan-American event, which happened in São Paulo, in my country. And they started to create the youth commissions, just youth commissions in every council. Brazil today has about 250,000 members. From the 250,000 members, 100,000 are young people. So this has changed completely the society, not only in Brazil, but in the US and in other countries. So if we just create a commission in each one of our branches to think about how we can cross-fertilize the vocations and motivate people from the Society of St. Vincent de Paul to become priests or religious, motivate the priests in their parishes to create new conferences. I mean, we can do this in our own family. We don't need to go away, to go outside of the family. We can do everything in our family. And finally, monitor, motivate, reward, and adjust. Every person responds to pressure. If we don't monitor the numbers, the results, and if we don't keep on insisting on people, create your film, create your app, create your commission, develop more vocations. How many vocations have you created? How many e-learning or MOOCs or courses have you created? We'll just, try by our inertia. We'll just forget because we have so many other things to do in our jobs, in our mission, in our social life. These are the 4 things that we are proposing, the Vincentian Charism Task Force has proposed with each one of the specific tasks.
And in conclusion, once again, in the words of Pope Francis from Christus Vivit, if we journey together, young and old, we can be firmly rooted in the present, and from here, revisit the past and look toward the future. To revisit the past, we learn from history. To look to the future, we nourish our enthusiasm, cause dreams to emerge, awaken prophecies, and enable hope to blossom. Together, we can learn from one another, we can warm hearts, inspire minds with the light of the gospel, and lend new strength to our hands. Roots are not anchors chaining us to past times and preventing us from facing the present and creating something new. Instead, they are a fixed point from which we can grow and meet new challenges. It does us no good to sit down and long for times past. We must meet our culture with realism and love and fill it with the gospel. And I might add the letters, conferences, stories of Vincent and Louise. We are sent today to proclaim the good news of Jesus to a new age. And we must face that reality. And in conclusion, we look to our Blessed Mother for her inspiration. Borrowing the words of Pope Francis yet again, isn't it true that we are always struck by the strength of young Mary's yes? To me, this was no mere passive or resigned acceptance or a faint yes, as if to say, well, let's give it a try and see what happens. Mary did not know those words, let's see what happens. She was determined. She knew what was at stake, and she said yes without thinking twice. Hers was the yes of someone prepared to be committed, someone willing to take a risk, ready to stake everything she had with no more security than the certainty of knowing that she was the bearer of a promise. So we challenge and ask each of you, do you see yourself as a bearer of a promise? A Vincentian promise? Thank you.
Thank you, Regina and Eduardo. You have given us so much wonderful material to think about and to act on. Thank you. We're going to take a half-hour break now. Please check your watch and be back here in 30 minutes so that we can continue with our day on the Vocation to the Charism material with a POW presentation following on what Regina and Eduardo have said. So half an hour, please be back. Thank you.